There's a lot of misinformation out there on the internet, especially on social media. Find out the truth next on Inside St. Lucie. Welcome to this edition of Inside St. Lucie, SLC-TV's monthly government affairs show. I'm your host, Eric Gill, Communications Director for St. Lucie County. And on today's show, we're going to sit down and talk with St. Lucie County Commissioner for District 5, Kathy Townsend. We're going to focus a little bit on development, future growth plans, as well as where people can find accurate information about St. Lucie County. But before we meet our guests, here's some upcoming events and announcements from the Board of County Commissioners.
St. Lucie County offices, libraries, and attractions will be closed Monday, February 17th in observance of President's Day. The 59th Annual St. Lucie County Fair takes place February 28th through March 9th at the St. Lucie County Fairgrounds, 15601 Midway Road in Fort Pierce. For details and ticket information, visit stluciecountyfair.org. The New York Mets will kick off the 2025 Spring Training Grapefruit League on Saturday, February 22nd at Clover Park in Port St. Lucie versus the Houston Astros. The Mets will play 16 home games in Port St. Lucie, including matchups against the Red Sox and Yankees. For tickets and additional details, visit stluciemets.com. Save the date for St. Lucie County's annual Earth Day celebration on Saturday, April 12th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Oxbow Eco Center, located at 5400 Northeast St. James Drive in Port St. Lucie. For details, visit oxboweco.com.
Now for the latest updates about all St. Lucie County Commission meetings, workshops, and events, visit our website at stlucieco.gov and click on our comprehensive calendar. And if you'd like to be added to our press release distribution list, you can send us an email at pio@stlucieco.gov. We're also on all the social media platforms at St. Lucie Gov, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Just follow us there for additional information. We're going to take a quick break. Before we do, we're going to check in with the latest economic development stats.
St. Lucie County's tourism continued to show an increase over previous years, with November's collection coming in at 25% higher than last year. The first 2 months of the fiscal year are 34% higher than last year. Overall building activity in unincorporated St. Lucie County increased by 12% in November, with 1,166 permits submitted compared to October's 1,035 permits. According to the Florida Realtors Association, the median home sale price in St. Lucie County was $395,500, 1% lower than it was a year ago, while condo values increased by 7%, with the median price at $301,493. St. Lucie County's unemployment increased slightly in November to 4.1% compared to October's 4%. Statewide, the unemployment rate was 3.4%. The largest increase in the labor force in the Treasure Coast was in construction and trades, and education and health services, both tied with 900 jobs, followed by professional business services with 800 new jobs. According to CareerSource, in October, non-agricultural employment in our area reached 178,900 jobs, an increase of 4,100 jobs, or a 2.3% increase over the last year. If you work for a local business looking for skilled or trained labor, be sure to contact the staff at CareerSource, as they can assist your company with its recruitment and training needs. And if you're an individual looking for a job, they can help you as well. Visit the CareerSource online at careersourcerc.com or call 1-866-4U-to-HIRE.
Welcome back to Inside St. Lucie. I'm Eric Gill, Communications Director for St. Lucie County, and I'm joined by St. Lucie County Commissioner Kathy Townsend. Commissioner, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I almost called you Chair because for the last 2 years you've had the pleasure of serving as the board or the additional work responsibility of being the Chair, but you know.
It's not that much more. It's a lot of signing, and you know, things are time sensitive. So sometimes, you know, you were scheduled out of the office for meetings, whatever. You have to find the time to come back in and sign them because they're time sensitive. But signing stuff, meeting with staff, it's not that much more, but it is more.
Sure.
And it does consume more of your time.
And you do coffee with the chair. We were doing coffee with the chair once a month, so that's another.
I'm glad to be out of that.
You're not down here in the studio.
I don't like being on camera, so I'm glad that I get out of that.
Yeah. Well, you know, you got 4 more years. You got time to come back. So, well, let's talk a little bit. We're in a new year. We got a new board. What are you hearing from residents? There's a new federal administration. Is any of that politics trickling down to local level?
Well, I don't know that you really want me to be truthful about what I'm hearing. You know, I think as far as the Trump administration, people are happy and they are looking forward to the changes. And, you know, then you have the people that didn't support him and they're angry and they're upset and they disagree with it. So again, It's just like last year's politics. It was very, very dirty and very, very nasty. And I'm not going to really comment a whole lot on that because I don't want to get into politics.
Yeah, and it always amazed me working here at the county level that partisan politics get involved, because it's a lot of those federal issues don't really apply at the local level, right? Like, you guys aren't controlling gas prices or tariffs or abortion issues,
right.
Or you're worried about the residents, the 200, almost 400,000 people that live here in this county.
And we can't change those, and that's why I know people were angry at me even when I was campaigning, because I said, listen, at a local level, you really need to think about the person, not the party, because there's good on both sides. And I know that my party especially was a little bit upset about that as well. But realistically, at this level, it's about our roads, our growth, our staff, which, means a lot. And this county has something that a lot of counties don't have. I'm on the Florida Association of Counties state level. And when I go around and talk to the other 66 counties, they don't have what we have. We have a unique situation here in St. Lucie County where we have a lot of nonprofits. And the nonprofits is what everybody uses for their activities to go to. And there's people that are engaged in that. And we do very, very well at making sure the true nonprofits that need assistance, that's done.
Sure.
The other counties don't really have that. And so the other thing is, when we talk about stuff like this throughout the state, a lot of us all agree at a local level on county commission and city commission that it really should be a nonpartisan race, because I'm not going to be a Republican or Democrat and think one way or the other because of my party. I know that roads are a priority. Roads are important. So if I'm a Democrat or a Republican or an independent, I'm still going to think the same way.
Sure.
Like you said, abortion, that's state, that's federal. The border, that's federal. So a lot of the changes and ordinances are done at Tallahassee. And again, yes, we have a relationship with our legislation there, and they're very good about staying in contact with us. But again, at this level, we have nothing to do with that.
Yeah, that's always one of the things I find frustrating about my job, is trying to educate folks. And you see it a lot of times too on social media, right? Why are you guys starting this road project? You haven't finished Port St. Lucie Boulevard. Well, that's the city of PSL. Well, stop passing the buck. I had a guy yelling at me the other day about speeding on Indian River Drive. And I said, the county has done all the infrastructure improvements we're going to make on the drive at this time. It's really a law enforcement issue. And he was hung up, yelled at me, called me a waste of air and some other choice thing, but you and I both know I can't write tickets. It'd be cooler if I could, right? Or if we could write long citation tickets. But
you know what? That's the sad thing. The sad thing is social media has created monsters, and they've created keyboard warriors. And so if half the people that were out there commenting on social media, instead of hiding behind a keyboard, would reach out to their official city or county or come to meetings or pick up the phone and call us, more would be done.
Yeah.
Rather than being angry and spreading things that are not true on social media.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times somebody makes a comment they don't understand. Like you said, a lot of times I see stuff and it's not us, it's the city, but they're bashing the county and bashing the commissioners. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they'll bash a commissioner. Well, a commissioner cannot do anything. It takes three votes or more. And so, I'm not on Facebook a lot. I don't like it. I'm not computer savvy. I actually pay somebody to help me do my page because I don't have the time nor am I on it a lot. But residents do see things and they're upset by it. So they do text me, and then at that point I will go on and try to find it. And I try to not respond, but when something's really, really going rogue and I feel that it's really detrimental that a fact be put out there, then I will respond. And of course they want to start debating you and get into it, and that's sad. But don't believe everything you hear on social media. And if you are questioning something, take 30 seconds and call a commissioner or council member or email, get the facts and find out if this is something that can be done that we can't say nothing about. Like, for example, the 25th and Midway project that we've been discussing here that came before us at the last meeting. I asked for it to be paused because I knew the residents that night were not understanding. They were not understanding that what they were asking for could be worse than what they were wanting. And when they realized that they didn't have all the facts, they wanted to pause it, right?
Sure.
Of course, the vote didn't happen that way. It ended up being a vote of a no. And now what that's done is it's opened them up the Live Local Act. And again, if you're not in office and you don't know the statutes and you don't know the laws, you wouldn't know that, right? And so any commercial property in the state of Florida can go residential, and as long as it's 25 or 28% more or more is Section 8 housing, you can't stop them. And it doesn't come to the board. It doesn't go to planning and zoning. It doesn't go anywhere to us. It's an administrative approval because it was done in
At the
Tallahassee
state level.
at the state level. So we can't do nothing about that. So that particular parcel, I'm trying to explain to the other board members, the Live Local Act, they can exercise that. So we need to be careful, and you need to be careful what you wish for. And the residents didn't know that. They didn't understand all that. And so there's a big chance that developer's going to come in and they're going to have stuff in front of them that they're not going to want to have. And so we as educated commissioners, first of all, should have told all of the residents what the opportunities were so that they knew everything and they knew every option. And in doing that, they probably wouldn't have been there that night because the developer went to residential because when he did the 4 town hall meetings, it was on commercial, the residents kept saying, I want residential.
Yeah.
He even went back to them with another town hall meeting showing the plan that he was presenting to us, and they were okay with it. And 50% of the people that were there that night don't even live within 500 feet. They live on the south side of Midway Road. So I wanted to do the right thing. I wanted to do what they wanted. If they wanted commercial, I would have voted commercial. If they wanted residential, I would have voted residential. Clearly, because it's going to affect them, right?
Sure.
But I also knew that they would not want the Live Local Act in their backyard. And that's why we have to know what we're doing when we're up there voting. That's why, as a planning and zoning commissioner, does that young man know about the Live Local Act? Right? So it's an education, and it's an educational component that you need to just sit back, I think. I'm not saying be quiet and be silent.
Sure.
But listen to people that have been there and question your legal counsel if you're not really believing the person that's up there, or question staff, because now that neighborhood has really been compromised.
Yeah.
Right? So, the show today was about, I want this public to understand, we are not here to go against them. We're here to go with them. And there's things that are put into place and there's laws. And I know that you brought up infrastructure. A lot of times that's brought up. We don't have the infrastructure, but we know, and they would have no way of knowing this, right? Because they're not up here. But we know moving into things what infrastructure has been paid for, what infrastructure is being funded, what year it's due to be finished by. As a commissioner, we know that, right?
Sure.
Public Works, Planning and Zone. So we are not going to approve something and put it all on a road that's a 2-lane road that can't even take care of what it has now, right?
Sure.
And the other thing is, if you approve a development and you get the developer to pay for that road and you put it in there, that they're not going to be able to pull permits till that's done, you get a road paved. If I get a road paved, now I don't have to look at the millage rate of our taxes, because that's what's going to happen. If we do not have development, we don't have a path forward to be able to find a path to lower the millage rate or to hold the millage rate.
Sure.
When we have to come out there and we have to foot the bill for all of this because there's nothing happening, we have to raise the millage rate. I don't want to raise the millage rate.
No.
I wish I could lower it. I mean, my goal is this year, if we could just keep it flat. I mean, I want to lower it. But
Sure.
I don't know if that's possible, right? But to at least keep it flat. So I don't know what's going to happen. As you know, we're going to be going into budget. Mm-hmm. We have a new sheriff. We don't know what the ask is going to be from the sheriff's department. So it's going to be an interesting year to see how the budget comes out, and that's the other thing that people get on Facebook and talk about is.
I was going to bring that up. There was a comment made to us about, I went to this park, these fields look horrible, but you have a $700 million budget, but the BOC, and I took the time to explain to the resident, that's the total budget, but the BOCC doesn't control that $700 million. It goes to the sheriff, goes to courts, it goes to medical examiner building, all these things that you guys pay for, but don't necessarily control at all.
Correct. And that's the thing. So out of the $700 million budget, $102 million right off the top goes to the sheriff, right? And then, you have your millions that go to the clerk of court and supervisor
Their
elections, and
all the other facilities we
the
maintain
judicial
for the state
system,
attorney.
the judges, state attorney, public defender, the jail,
which is our building.
The courthouse. And that's the other
Yeah.
thing they don't understand is, the jail, the courthouse, the public defenders. Those are our buildings. They're our buildings that we are responsible for.
Sure.
We have staff out at the jail, and when something breaks or it's a lock, it's on us. Our guys go in and fix it, not the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. There's so many things that are in that.
But
that
yeah,
they don't
not
get.
to interrupt you, but when people have issues of, I can't get visitation, that's not us. The sheriff manages the day-to-day operations. We just take care of the plumbing and the electrical,
well, it's just like
but I can see why it's confusing to the public.
the state
right?
attorney's office. We can't make a decision. That's the state attorney. But if something's not working,
But the roof has a leak, we fix it.
we fix it, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people just don't understand how that process is and how it works, and they also don't understand their bill. I mean, if they were to just look at their ad valorem rate, that's what we are responsible for. That is not the highest in the state. We are not the highest in the state.
Yeah.
If you live in an area like Tradition and you have a CDD, some of those CDDs are $10,000 and $12,000.
I would say it's 20% in some
And
people's
so
tax bill. Yeah.
take the CDD off.
Yeah.
And what your tax is going to be. The other thing is we have a standalone fire department.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, our standalone fire department, we have no control. They have their own board. That's another line that you take that off. Are your taxes going to be the highest in the state? Our school board. We have elected people that run our school board. We have no say in the schools. or
And
the
they have
school system.
voter-approved millage rates that go just to the school board.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, if you live in the city, like so Port St. Lucie, say, if you live in Port St. Lucie, you have the city of Port St. Lucie, you have the city of Fort Pierce, and you have the city of St. Lucie Village, right? So those three municipalities, whichever one you live in, you have a millage rate that those elected officials decide that you have on your tax bill. Just like the city of Port St. Lucie, the people and the staff and everybody prior to them and the elected officials than this board today, the VGTI and the Torrey Pines and all of that, they had to figure out a way to cover the debt. So they decided and elected to do a line item in their taxes. It's city debt, and they divide it up amongst how many residents are there paying taxes, and that's a line item. But I'm not responsible for that. So if you go in and you deduct anything to do with your city, anything to do with school, anything to do with fire department, we're probably about number 40, 42, right? And so try to have somebody understand that, because they don't get it. I know when I go into HOAs and I talk about it, 50% of the room gets it. The other 50% just, they're like, it doesn't matter. We're still the highest in the
I still pay more this year than I did last year, but you said you lowered the rate. That's the other. But I thought you did a great job the other night at Citizens Academy, which is a great program we started probably 3 or 4 years ago, where residents can come in and meet the department directors, meet commissioners, ask us questions. And it was great. You did your presentation and they left and they started talking about public safety, 911. Why don't we have more lifeguarded beaches? And I said, do you remember at the beginning of the meeting when Commissioner Townsend was talking about wanting to lower the millage rate? Lifeguards are expensive. That's one of our biggest costs, right? It's not lifeguards alone, but
I'm just
our
saying,
employees are our biggest expense.
But the lifeguards is a good example, okay? We have Ando, who does a great job, been with us forever, right? And we have lifeguards. We don't have the funding to put a lifeguard in every single one of our beaches. The other thing is, some of those beaches are in the city of Fort Pierce. Why isn't the city of Fort Pierce paying and putting lifeguards on their beaches? Okay, but the one beach that is covered by lifeguard, we're paying for that. Now, we did go to them and ask if they would split that cost with us, and I believe they did. I believe that they did this year.
Yeah.
They're going to split it when we add that. But again, that's just something so simple that people don't think about, like our parks.
Libraries.
I'll see stuff, the libraries. Cities don't have that. Cities don't have a library, an emergency operations center,
911.
lifeguards,
Yep.
911 dispatch, courthouse, jail. Those are all under the jurisdiction of the county. And so that's what I mean by this is so much bigger than what anybody realizes on the outside. And I love that class, Citizens Academy. I really do. I do believe it was started originally in the city of Port St. Lucie.
Yeah,
It was a great idea. I'm glad they came up with it. I'm glad we have followed. And hopefully they would do that class, then they would do our class, and then they would go ahead, because now judicially, Judge Eisenhower has a class, So if you were to do the city and then the county and then the judicial, you would really be educated on all the process and the systems and how it works.
Because I don't think they're really teaching that in schools, or if they do, you learned it in 8th grade civics or whatever, and by the time
And how do you remember it?
Or you moved here from somewhere else where it's different from state to state.
It is, because like in Jersey, you have townships. You know, New York said there's boroughs.
Yeah.
We're a very simple process. You have city, county, and state.
Yeah.
And so it's confusing because usually people from the north, they have a lot more, they pay state taxes.
Yeah, I was going to say they forget the state income tax.
So Florida's a pretty simple process of government.
Yeah.
And I will say that my biggest challenge is I'm a business owner, been self-employed my whole life. I'm used to if something's wrong, I can fix it. If I have an employee that's not doing right, I can talk to them and I can say to them, you know, you really need to handle it this way next time. And if you don't, then unfortunately I'm going to have to let you go. In government, you can't do that. You have to have a process. You have to write them up. They have to have so many times that they're written up, and you have to show the reason why. Otherwise, an employee leaves, and then they sue government.
Yeah.
And they know that usually insurance companies don't fight stuff like that, and so they try to settle. And it's an easy $50,000 for them, right?
Sure.
So little things like that people don't understand.
Yeah.
And I think we have great staff. I love our departments, and I think we do a really good job with what we have. Do we need more? Yes, we do. But at the same time, I'm not looking to raise the millage rate. I'm looking to find other ways. And, you know, one of them is people are working from home. So if more people are working from home, that's less brick and mortar we need. So that's one little way that I think about that we can save money.
Sure.
I know there's a couple departments that are doing that.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're looking to build our new building, our new campus to put here. And
consolidate some of these outlying offices that, may
well,
not be
like
yours.
Ms.
Or,
Walker, you know, $500,000 goes out there to the mall. Where if we rebuild here, we can bring her in, and that's money. It's $500,000 that can be saved. That can be put into Parks and Rec, right?
Yeah.
You know, we have our regional pool coming up there at Midway Road. We've got that property. That's another thing. You know, the city of Port St. Lucie has some really nice parks, some beautiful parks. And if something happens there, somebody will call or they'll get on Facebook and they start blaming the county. And I'm like, it's not the county, that's the city of Port St. Lucie's park.
Yeah.
And the city's very good about maintaining their parks. Their parks are beautiful. Their botanical gardens is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's just really stop trying to be ugly
Yeah.
and try to fix what's wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If somebody has said something and they're complaining, pick up the phone instead of typing another negative comment on your keyboard and try to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you right now, there's not one elected official sitting on that dais today that is not for the people, not going to pick up the phone and help them.
Yeah.
That I will say about this current board, all 5 of us are very, very proactive at fixing things and making things right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the commissioners before us didn't, but I can tell you that with this group that's up there, they are very, very, very driven to have the relationships with the residents.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. And I think it's a wonderful thing to do. But at the same time, you know, we also need to pause and listen to staff, because I'm sitting there and I'm learning, right? So until you've been here enough to really feel confident and know, Mr. McIntyre, is that going to put me in a lawsuit? Yeah, probably.
Potentially,
What's the percentage you think we're going to win? 50-50. Well, I'm not a gambler.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about talking to your legal staff, which, you know, we're very fortunate to have Catherine that's been here 20-something years. Mr.
Damn.
McIntyre, 32?
Yep. Yeah.
And, you know, we have a couple other assistant, attorneys in there. So, you know, I'm very proud of what we have. I'm very proud of what we do. I think that during emergency services and disasters, we're strong. We do a great job. Again, people would never realize what we have out there and what we do. But in that Citizens Academy, you do. You get to tour the room. You get to tour everything out there. You get to see where everything happens. It makes a difference when you're standing in the room knowing in the middle of a disaster, when everything's shut down, and you see 50 TVs around you, and you know that it's fire department, police department, sheriff's department, FP&L, Fort Pierce Utilities, PSL, cities.
Fort Pierce, yep.
In one room.
Making joint decisions together to benefit the public, absolutely.
Red Cross is there,
Yep.
FEMA's there. I mean, I don't want to say it's amazing to see, because I don't ever want to see another disaster,
Thank you, I
another
don't
hurricane. But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
when I leave here, that's the one thing I'm going to walk away with in total comfort. I know I will never worry when anything's coming that's a disaster, because I know what we have, and I know how staff does it, and I know we're going to be taken care of. And if something happens and I'm stranded, I know that our fire department and sheriff's department will find a way to get there.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
And it gives me a lot of comfort in knowing that. And I've told my family that. We'll get through this. We'll be okay. But if you have not been out there and seen that, you would worry. You would have anxiety, right?
Sure.
So I just wish more people would get involved in that class. And I just wish more people would pick up the phone and call rather than hiding behind a keyboard and saying things that really a lot of times are not true.
Well, I think a good motto for this year is stop hating, start participating.
I agree.
Right? Like we have advisory boards and committees, and I agree. I get frustrated when I see, the county doesn't care. I asked HR for a list of all of 900 employees in our zip codes. 87% of our staff live inside this county.
That's great.
So why would we not care? My kids went through the public school system here. I want the roads to be safe when they're on the school bus. I want them to play in nice parks.
You pay property taxes
I
here.
do. I vote. I pay taxes. Granted, I probably don't pay as much as people that just moved here because I've been living in the same house since '98. But that's the way the tax structure is set up.
And that's another thing that happens too is, somebody comes here. This recently happened to me 2 years ago. I was in my house for 29 years. Right?
Yep. Your value only goes at your market rate. Only goes at 3%. Yeah.
So with what I was paying in taxes, when the people that bought my house got the tax bill, it was like double. Well, you had to have known that. I mean, mine was based on the value that I purchased at 29 years ago, back in the 90s, right? Yeah. You're purchasing it at the height of a market. And so again, somebody would make a comment about that on social media, and somebody is going to start the flow and start the drama.
Yeah.
Again, like you just said, if you sell your house and somebody buys the same thing, it's going to happen to yours because you've been there so long, right? It's based on the sales of what you pay for it.
Sure. Not what, not the, not the true market value because, except for that first time buy. But
well, and I also think when the time comes that we get into budget, I think we do a really good job with the property appraiser's office in explaining the bill and how it's leveled out. Property appraiser staff comes in and they're out there in the hall to explain stuff. People need to take advantage of that. Yeah. And she's always good about explaining stuff, and her staff is great about explaining stuff too during that period. So I just think if people would try to put the negative energy that they're putting into something positive and try to find and research, it would just be a better place.
Yeah, like you said, there's plenty of opportunities in advisory committees and, volunteer groups that work with, the county on different projects.
There's a lot of boards that we have to point to. And I've seen the big shift. And one of the things I'm most excited about is the Planning and Zoning Board. I mean, we have young men on there today that can be there for a very long time, and they can mold what the future is going to be. A lot of the people that sat on that board had been there for a very, very long time, but they were great guys, right? But they're older, and health problems happen, and they don't think the way that people think today. I mean, like me, I'm in my 60s. I mean, I probably think more like a young person because I have, my sons are in their 30s and whatever. But a lot of people, as they get older, they don't adapt as well, right? And of course, if you've been out west of town or something like that. So I'm excited with the Planning and Zoning Board. I think that there's really a good group on that board sitting up there today. And I think, like the young man that did that thing, I'm grateful that he did that. And you could tell that he was an educated person. You can tell that he's excited to be on that board. Sure. And I've talked to a couple of the other new guys that are on that board, and they're just like him. They're excited to be on that board. So if you want to sit on a board, we all get to point to a board. And I think there's a few spots open from some of the commissioners. My spots are all filled, but doesn't mean that something doesn't happen.
Or something doesn't happen through the year. Somebody moves or change a career. And
so when people call and they're interested, I keep that list so that if something happens, I pull out my list and say, oh, this person was interested in planning and zoning, and I look at it. Yeah. And then I have somebody, and I'm prepared when somebody has to walk off, right? So, and I'm sure the other commissioners do that too. So, right now I think we do the Citizens Academy twice a year, but if there is enough people coming and wanting it, we're turning people away. They can do it every quarter. Yeah. Because you learn. That is where you learn. And I don't know anybody that has ever come out of that class and not been wowed and not said anything. I also do stuff with the realtors. I do bus tours.
Oh.
So we get on the bus and I pick something in the county and I take them there. So they go to the emergency operations. We go to the Navy SEAL.
Nice.
We go to a couple of preserves. We go to the landfill. So I show them, and the realtors are really walking away from that. And the bus is full when we do it. They're full, right? And then the other thing is I speak a lot of the HOAs. And when I speak there, I offer a tour for them. So
And you used to do that when you had the HOA group. There were representatives from each HOA, and I know you used to rotate it, the jail or SEAL Museum or where, some of the...
And I've been giving that group back.
Okay.
And so I'm getting ready to start that group back again. So anybody of you that live in an HOA or you're an HOA president, make sure you call my office.
Yeah, and let me know, because I always like going in.
I have to build that list again and try to get it going again, because that was a great group and they were able to carry a lot of knowledge back to their HOA. So I'm excited for that group to start again. There's a lot of good things happening. Every day somebody asks me about Buc-ee's.
The site plan was submitted. Did
it
you
was.
know that? Yeah,
and
I'm sure
I
you
said
did.
that yesterday. I said site plan's in. So good things are going to happen. And you know what? I can sit here and say, and I say this on social media when I respond, I am somebody that's been here. I don't like what we have right now either. I don't like it. I don't like what I know is going to come,
Sure.
right? In the 90s, I was selling lots for $500 off dirt roads in Port St. Lucie when GDC was in there.
Yeah.
I don't like what that is, right? But unfortunately, I happen to be that somebody right now, thank you to the voters that believed in me, and put me here, somebody that is serving the residents makes those decisions. And it's not about give it away. It's about following the law.
Yeah.
Property rights is real, and they're very, very strong here in the state of Florida, and you are not going to win many lawsuits.
No.
And I think any attorney would tell you that.
Yeah. And you guys every year too, have to deal with unfunded mandates from the state level, which, I know there was an emergency session yesterday, and there'll probably be another one before March, but, Well,
when the unfunded mandate came down about school resource officers, okay? We couldn't do anything about it. We had to do it. That affected us too, right?
Yeah.
It didn't affect just the school board. It affected the county too, because we pay for a portion of that. Also because it comes out of the sheriff's budget.
Yeah.
So we had to increase the sheriff's budget to make it available for him to put them in the schools.
Yeah.
We couldn't say no.
Yeah.
We couldn't tell them we're not going to do this.
Sure.
And they don't understand that either.
And as technology improves, I was listening to NPR this morning, they were talking about in New York, the state correction system, the body cameras, and whether or not some don't have them, some have them, and everybody thinks, a GoPro is a couple $100, it's cheap, but you and I both know there's records retention, there's data, all that video needs to be stored somewhere. Somebody needs to be able to go through and find it when you get a public records request,
it also creates more staff, because you have to have staff run those videos and be over those,
pull them and manage it,
and it's not a GoPro. Those body cameras are a lot of money.
Yes, yeah.
And just like out there at the jail, the information room, the IT room, where that equipment was so old and it needed to be replaced. That was millions of dollars. We had to increase the sheriff's budget.
Sure.
The cars were run out. They were very, very old. We had to fund for new sheriff's cars, and it was a phased-in process of doing that. So again, the general public's not going to know that. They're going to look at it and say, $105 million to the sheriff, or $700.
Yeah, they look at the total budget.
That $700 is not for us to go out there and play with. And you know what? That $700,000 is not enough money for us to pave every road and maintain every road in this county.
Yeah. And even a lot of funds are restricted, because the one resident that was upset about the baseball field said, you spent all those millions on Met Stadium. Well, all that money comes from the tourist development tax, which can only be used, it's not general fund tax dollars that you and I pay unless you're staying in a hotel.
But the thing is, what people don't understand there is, yes, you pay a tourist tax when you come into any county in the state of Florida.
Sure.
But here in our county, out of that 4 cents, 3 cents goes directly, five. The first 3 cents goes directly to the Mets. The 4th cent goes to the Mets, but in a different capacity. And the last penny is divided up, where a third of that has to stay north of Midway Road, which we're going to have that conversation, I think, and possibly make some changes on that too. But the point of me saying this is, out of the 5 cents
We
tourist
get-
tax, we see very little,
Yeah.
very little, right? And I know that our tourism does a lot with a little, plus, they have to go to New York for once or twice a year because that was a part of the contract.
Sure, yeah.
So again, stuff like that. I get calls about the Met Stadium and they're angry because why don't we have use of that field? There's no baseball going on. Well, they said that if we go into the ball field and we have concerts, it tears up the ball field.
Yeah.
So they don't want the ball field
Sure.
tore up. They've been gracious enough here, and
They've done some stuff in the parking
In the
lot,
parking
the circuit lot. And as somebody who, before I worked at here, I worked at Riverside Theater, people don't always know what it takes to put on a concert. You're going to spend $200,000 on a stage rental and lighting equipment and sound
And getting
equipment.
the band here.
And, and artist fees and
But I would say that I would totally support concerts being done there, and I would like to see things at that
yeah.
Ball field. They've gotten better about letting some nonprofits in to do some stuff inside some of the rooms and do tours. I mean, the new owners have been very, very gracious to St. Lucie County, and more is being offered to us. But I understand why. The ball field costs a lot of money to maintain.
Sure.
And it will get ripped up. So you have to figure out, the
Sure.
price of housing the band, of paying the band, and then putting the ball field back in place. There's a reason, and it just can't be done. But why? And then they want to argue with you.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't make that rule. That rule was made
And the contract
20-something
negotiated 20
years ago, right?
Yeah, sure.
And so we're using the parking lot for Safety Festival
Sure.
and that family fun day that they do.
There's a big bounce house thing
Yeah.
that comes in, and
More and more people are starting to use the parking lot area there. So again, the average person isn't going to know, but they're in their mind, they're upset because we don't have concerts here, and that's a perfect place to have a concert.
Yeah.
But yet, it's very defined in the language of what we can do.
And when we can do it,
the Met
yeah.
Stadium, we don't get one dime. We don't get one dime from a parking pass, a ticket, or a beer or a pretzel. Nothing. It all
Yeah.
goes to the Mets.
But we get some, I think, on a certain level of concessions back if they hit a certain amount. I mean, but you're right. Most of
I
it.
don't-
I
we
thought,
do?
I thought we did. But anyway. But yeah, most of it goes to the debt of that facility and the operations of it.
Oh, and again, that facility is done through our Parks and Rec.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
it's our
People that-
staff there,
It's
yeah.
our staff that's there, that's doing
Yeah.
it, that's mowing it,
That's
that's
inside
cleaning
city
it.
limits. But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have 3 roads in the city of Port St. Lucie.
Yeah.
Walton, Prima Vista,
Yeah.
Becker. I think there's another one too, actually.
Yeah.
All
Blade
the other
cuts on,
roads
but-
that are in the city of Port St. Lucie are their roads, just
Yeah.
like Fort Pierce. You've got our roads that run through the city, but the city of Fort Pierce has their roads. So
Yeah.
when people go on the internet or they call the office and they're upset about it, and I have to say, I'm sorry, but that's the city of Fort Pierce, but I'm happy to call over there for you.
Sure.
Oh, that's right, just pass the buck.
Fuck yeah.
I'm not passing the buck.
Yeah.
I can't tell a city what to do.
Yeah.
I can't tell a constitutional officer what to do because I get stuff all the time out there.
Yeah,
in
you
jail.
know what analogy I used recently with the guy that was upset? I said it's sort of like if the IRS shorts you your refund and you call FEMA. I mean,
Okay.
they're both federal agencies and they both report to the same administration, but FEMA can't get you your full tax refund. You've got to go to the IRS. I
But
mean, I
that's
know,
a good example.
Well, thank you. I thought so,
Yeah.
but he didn't he got mad. He got even madder at me, I think. But and it wasn't me trying to pass the buck. It's just I'm trying to point you in the right direction. Our motto is get you the right information at the right time to make the right decision.
And I mean, in all fairness and on all disclosure, there are employees that do that. There are people that pass the buck.
Sure.
They don't want to spend the time doing it. So I'm not saying it doesn't happen
Sure.
because it does happen. There's employees that do that.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know that. And when I find out about it, I say to them, if that gentleman didn't need something, then we wouldn't need you and you wouldn't have a job. So this is about customer service. And if
Yep.
you don't know the answer, it's okay.
I'll
Take
find
down a
out
phone
and
number
get
and
back to
say,
you.
I'm sorry, sir, you're in my department. I don't know where to go. The other people are at lunch, but I'll get back to you, and then pass it to somebody else till you figure it out,
Yeah.
right? Put forth the effort. Everybody, every department, every county, every city has somebody like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's about helping people in customer service because
Absolutely.
if we all pitch in together and if we all try to fix things, it's going to be a better place. And you know what? It's like I say to them whenever I have conversations. If you know of a way to fix something, I want to know because I will bring it up, I will fight for it, and I will vote for it. Tell me what I don't know.
Yeah.
Tell me how to fix it because I really don't know how to fix this. right? And they can't. They can't. Like they'll be saying stuff on social media, and when I finally get contact with them and I call them, because I do that, they're like, "This is who?" I'm like, "This is Kathy Townsend, County Commissioner, that you were going back and forth with."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Well," I go, "So you're putting stuff out there. Tell me how I can fix this, because what you're saying is not true." When I get done having that conversation, they're like, "I didn't realize all that." I'm like, "Exactly." So for everything bad and negative you said,
Yeah.
if you would have spent that energy talking to somebody to find out the truth, now you can spread the truth.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do. We need to spread the truth, and we need to stop being negative.
Yeah. Stop hating, start participating.
That's right. I like that.
I like
we
that
need to start
too.
putting that up there as a logo.
You got it. Well, Commissioners, anything else you didn't get to cover before we wrap up
Nope,
the show?
new year, new beginnings. I think that we're headed in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Again, I just want the residents to know, reach out, call, 462-1408. It's my office. I'm there. I'll call, email me, and the other commissioners, they'll do the same. So instead of doing what you're doing, pick up the phone and call or email us, and let's make this good and let's do the right thing.
All right. Sounds
Thanks.
good. Thanks, Commissioner. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break. Before we do, we're going to check in with some latest projects from the Public Works Department.
The Public Works Department continues to serve the citizens of St. Lucie County with a solid, dependable infrastructure program. The Range Line Road resurfacing project was recently completed. This project included recycling the existing road base, installing a 2-inch layer of new asphalt, and installing a safety edge. These enhancements create a smoother, more durable surface, and the safety edge greatly improves a vehicle's ability to recover if it veers off the roadway. This investment not only enhances the overall safety of the road, but also reduces the need for frequent maintenance and creates a more reliable roadway for daily travelers. For more information about St. Lucie County infrastructure projects, visit stlucieco.gov.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of Inside St. Lucie. We hope you'll tune in again next month. If you have topics or subjects you'd like to see covered here on the program relating to St. Lucie County government, give us a call at 772-462-1791 or send us an email at pio@stlucieco.gov. And if you'd like to see previously aired episodes of this or other SLC TV programs, check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/stluciegov. I'm Eric Gill from myself and staff. Thanks for watching.